Hold on.
Hello,
I'm on both. I'm on
everybody.
both right now. Okay.
Welcome to Rug Side Chats. Maddie, it might be my bad, but I can't hear you.
Give me 1 second.
So I messed something up. I can't hear you. Hold on.
Wait, can you hear me now? Hold on. How about now? Or how about now? Can you hear me now? I might have done this. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I entered yours while I was still on box side.
Oh, see, as it, So all right. Let's start again here. Welcome to Rugside Chats.
Excellent.
All right, aka interns office hours, aka bog side smack.
Oh,
How are we doing today? Today we have on a guest, an illustrious guest, Maddie P, the Esquire, co-host of the Wowee Show and that other pod.
don't say that. Franz just kicked me out. He just kicked me out of it.
Yeah. See, there you go. Where do your loyalties lie? I mean, you've interviewed cooler guests on the Wowee Show. True or false?
That's on Wowee. We've had a ton of people on. We've had the Mythic Squad on Bogside. I love the guests on Bogside. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about recent memory.
Yeah. That was cool that we got those guys on. That was super fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's you heard what they said. You helped them lawyer up their updates. I think that was a direct reference to you and not to our pig-faced friend.
Yeah. Although, did you hear what he said? Wowee face reveal when Jewel gets to $10.
That's pretty soon then, huh? Wow.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah.
Yeah, we should start planning the party. Maybe like a live stream.
Yeah.
It'll be a 24-hour build-up. Watch it hit $9.99, and then just that's how it would work. All right, so we had some things. You actually requested this time.
Well, no. I requested originally when you said you're going to start streaming. I wanted to be on like episode 1, but you were like, oh no, I got to do Grady or whatever.
Yeah, well, I did. I owed him.
Yeah, which checks out. That checks out. Yeah, whatever. And then I was going to be on episode 2, but you rugged me with some sort of bullshit courtroom assignment. Ugh.
It was a rug, and I'm sorry for that. But I'm glad to have you on. And but there was a specific thing this week that flagged your interest, right? And so let me just go ahead and pull that up.
We're going to talk about that. Well, before we talk about that, we need to do our disclosures.
Right. Well, okay. Do you want to begin? Like, I know I wrote something to you, but it was so long ago now that scrolling up, I couldn't find it.
So I as people may know, I passed the bar in a year of the past in a state of the United States. But what I'm talking about right now is like kind of a hobby that I enjoy is crypto and blockchain and stuff like that. And none of what I'm about to say is a legal opinion or should be taken as or relied upon as a legal opinion. I just like talking about this stuff, and it is a subject matter that I enjoy discussing.
Very much so.
I think that covers me for like anything I'm about to say.
I actually remembered the line while you were going. It came back to me. So I am not licensed to practice law in 49 out of 50 states.
Yes, there you go. Yes,
and, so you should definitely not rely on what I'm going to say.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like Maddie, this is like, I'm a nerd who nerds out over written opinions and social organization. And this is going into somewhere that is not an area I practice day in, day out. So definitely more of an entertainment and not an advisement. And if you want an attorney, some of this stuff is what I do day in, day out, like the litigation aspect. Well, so like, it'd be, I got to be candid though, Maddie. See?
Fair.
But definitely, if you're in litigation, you should definitely seek your own attorney. And I am not that for you.
Right.
So that being said,
all right. So this kind of go back a little bit to just the start of this is SEC going after Coinbase, and their the original complaint I read like a bunch of times although it dragged on because they did so much for each individual token. They did all it was basically the same for each token too. But anyways, their original complaint, they said that Coinbase is in violation because they're selling they're I don't know the phrase they use, but they're basically offering unregistered securities and then listed a ton of tokens as these are all securities, which just, oh my God, I got so upset. I'm so upset about that. It annoys me to no end because I strongly disagree that cryptocurrency is securities. And that may be a whole conversation right there. But this came out pretty recently, which was the counter to it, which is basically just Coinbase being no, you're wrong because of X, Y, and Z, and a bunch of Supreme Court cases. And mainly Howey, but also the cases off of Howey. Is it Howey? Is that how you pronounce it? I always thought it was Howley. I thought there was an L in it.
No, there's no L. It's just the Howey test, right?
So right. I always thought it was Howley for some reason, but that's just maybe because I'm weird.
That would be sweet. I would like saying Howley when addressing the court much more than Howie. Howie sounds like how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But yeah, so this is their kind of their response is the wrong way. I don't want to. Again, this is not legal advice. This is a motion to dismiss, basically. Right?
So it's my understanding from reading these letters. There's a few letters that in whatever court they are in, there's a unique local rule, which I could probably figure it out if I tried really hard. But I don't know what court exactly they're in. There are many, many district courts, and each one, much to the surprise of many non-lawyers, has their own specific local rules about how you actually go about, making moves in the game of litigation. And that's what motions are. They are moves in the game of litigation, basically, at the most basic level, 5th grade, explain like I'm 5. And so it looks like there's a procedural requirement here to kind of get the court's consent to bring a motion, though. That's what I interpret from these letters. And the court then sets a briefing schedule. And so you don't really see this practice in any of the courts that I work in.
This threw me off. Well, it threw me off crazy because it looks like a letter just written, but then at the top it has that stamp.
Right.
That you see on that on everything. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And if you look at it, the letter above the 2 line, it says via ECF, sent via ECF. So
right. That's the court system. Yeah.
Court filing system.
Yeah.
Very, boringly named as lawyers do.
Yeah.
But so what intrigued you most here about the motion to dismiss? Was it their argument?
Well, mainly that it's backing me up in everything I say.
Well, of course it is.
In that they're basically, they say none of these tokens are at the level of securities because they don't pass the Howey test. And again, it's not as straightforward as that, obviously, because it's there's been a million cases that kind of get in between that. But I think in my mind, and I only read this once, really fast, and I got really excited about it and tweeted it. but basically they're saying you don't pass the Howey test. These are not securities, and SEC get the fuck out. I mean, it's basically what it says. Which just got me amped up because I think this is the right path to go, is to say that SEC they just ignored Howey in their original complaint. They just said they were securities based on all these other things and never went through the elements of Howey in the original complaint, which blew my mind.
Right. And I mean, that normally that is what you would expect to see, right? As a litigator, you expect to see someone walking through all of the elements of their claim, because that's kind of what the whole point of filing a complaint is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think really it's an interesting thing, right? People, when the SEC's lawsuit first came out, were like, why didn't they go after Ethereum, right? Especially the Bitcoin crowd was like, Ethereum should be a security. Mm-hmm. It was sold at this IPO, right? Basically, it's an initial public offering. They send Bitcoin to this address. You will receive Ethereum when we launch the chain, right? Biggest scam I've ever heard of, right? Don't buy that obvious run.
Yeah.
And
if only.
The thing is, though, there's a statute of limitations. And so that one sale, sure, that, I think there's a pretty fair argument that that's a classic security sale, right? Give me money and I will later give you something that I make, right? Or you'll have an interest in something that I make, right? And that's what the Ether tokens could have been at the time. And so I think really the distinction here is that regardless of how these tokens initially entered the world, the question is not whether that was a security offering. Right? Mm-hmm. Now that the tokens exist, the question is whether the offering a platform to facilitate the exchange of them is exchanging that contract on the secondary market is a security sale. And so we're really in this bottom paragraph of this second picture, you see Coinbase, the main argument here, I think, is that they are asset sales, and all of the obligations of the sale of the contract, right, the exchange, are discharged at the time it's delivered, right? So it's instant, it's done. There is no expectation of continuing performance of any kind. And I think that's really the gist of their main argument there on the securities issue.
Well, I have my own theory on this, and again, none of this is legal advice. None of this is actual opinions. It's just fun. And that I consider tokens, and not all tokens. It's not like a universal statement. Man, there's going to be a lot of this during this entire stream. I'm going to be like, well, it depends on blah, 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 blah.
On like an area of practice outside of their specialty. That's kind of what we're doing.
Exactly, yeah. That some tokens are closer to like collectibles. And like when you buy a collectible, say baseball cards, Pokemon cards, comic books, rare furniture, like whatever it might be, when you buy that, you might in the back of your head have an expectation that the value of it at a later time will be higher, but not because someone else is doing something or that item is producing any money, just because the market later on will value it at a higher price later. And so that kind of distinction between expecting profits and expecting the market to make the item worth more, I think is sort of what they're saying here. Obviously, they're not saying that exactly, but like that distinction is so key to me, because for it to be a security, there needs to be some sort of party, and party might be even the wrong word, some sort of group, collective, doing something.
A promoter, I think, is the term.
Right. Yeah. Like doing something to add value to that. Right. And that is just not present in any crypto. Well, I shouldn't say any, because there's a million different. I shouldn't say any.
There are literal security tokens, right? There are few of them. So like, there are some that function that way and are intended to function that way.
But the idea that like there's a profit because of someone doing something in vast majority of tokens is not present, because the tokens are in and of themselves just things. I compare them to collectibles, and I think that's sort of what they're saying here, is like they're just, once the sale happens, they're yours. That's it. Everyone's hands are off of them, and we go about our business, and we hope that the market later on, that they're increased in value because of the market, not because of anything that the tokens are doing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you just kind of triggered for me is that the tokens aren't doing anything, right? And when I just buy a token, like, it doesn't matter that I could stake it somewhere and get interest for it. That is like a separate transaction. And if I decide to do that, maybe it's not the token that's a security. Maybe that smart contract would be a better subject of analysis.
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying it would be a security, but more
the Coinbase staking I have problems with, and we can talk about that later. But like, I think staking, staking is a lot, and there's a lot of staking I don't understand too, which I get nervous to like talk about that stuff when it's like technical and I don't understand it.
Well, but there's multiple types of staking too,
right? Yeah, like
staking in an LP pool is staking, but it's not the same as staking to secure a network like you are with Ethereum and many of the tokens that the SEC named. Like, I think they named Algorand is one that immediately comes to mind.
Yeah, well, they named Axie, which is just like wild. Right. Anyway, but yeah, sorry, I'm jumping ahead on the staking, but I think in general, like that initial, and that's just like that initial thing. I think you agree with me of like just calling these tokens securities just from any point of view. I think it's just so wrong, because it doesn't match not anything, maybe some things in the Howey test, but the core elements of it are not reached, in my opinion. I shouldn't say my opinion. It's not legal advice. I'm just chatting.
Well, yeah. You're like educational take.
Yeah, and my educational entertainment.
No, entertainment, right? This is just entertainment. You're drinking a beer. Look at that. Any reasonable person looking at not trust yourself.
If I could give advice while drinking, I mean, that would be ideal. But they don't really. They frown on that in most bars. I mean, bar of board overseers.
Right.
not bars. Not bars. Yeah.
Not most drinking bars, Beth bars, oxygen bars, nothing like that.
All right, but all right. What are your thoughts on that? Just that initial, before we get to staking, that idea that like these tokens are or not or not securities.
Well, so I wouldn't ever try to answer that in a total generality, right?
Sure.
But I agree with what you said earlier, that like the SEC didn't walk through the elements for like any of them. It looked like it is in its complaint, and that it just tells me that like if lawyers aren't always dumb, and you know, in all deference to the SEC, the SEC commissioners and policymakers are not the same people who are actually writing these briefs.
Yes.
And so you have a communication between like an agency and another portion of that same agency. And there's like the one is the head is telling the arm what to do, right? What the brain's telling the hand what to write. And if the hand could write the arguments better based on what they were given, they would. I think like, they probably have very competent litigation attorneys. And one thing to note is that recently in the Binance decision, there was an opinion rebuking the SEC for coming to the court with without presenting any facts or cogent legal theories as to why these tokens are securities. That's like a quote, and that is harsh language in an opinion directed at you.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's possible. I'm erring on the hopeful side because obviously I'm here for the crypto, but it's possible that we see something similar here, because I think there's several things that jump out on the securities issue. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think
that's what I wanted to hear. Yes.
I think with staking though, not staking.
Yes.
I think staking modifies it for some of these tokens, but
right.
not all.
I agree.
And you know, and on the whole, how staking impacts it will be different in each one. Is it like, because I look at Ethereum, it's not even like they programmed a specific interest rate, right? It's all based on the burn and how much economic activity there is. And so, like, you could argue that fact kind of either way, right? You're expecting people to come build on this platform, and that's kind of a stretch of securities laws, but you could make that argument. And
but that's the collective work,
right? Because you want to increase the staking reward, so you want people coming to increase. But like that is, I think that would be a poor argument because it's really easy to poke holes in. But it's the only thing that really comes to my mind, though, and that's why I'm coming to agree with you there.
Well, I want to I do want to talk about this, but I want to rewind to something you said, and I kind of want to put on a tinfoil hat, talking about the hand and the head. I have
something for this.
The hand and the head, though. I very much think that the people up top told the people writing the actual complaint, the original, you know, SEC versus Coinbase. I think they said to them directly, "Do not mention Howey," and they had to create a complaint without Howey, which is like the defining case on all of this. And they did the best job they could of like using other sources and other ways of like how you define a security and stuff like that. And I'm great. Obviously, I have no evidence to prove that, but that's what it seems like they did, is like bring a case against Coinbase without mentioning Howey. Like that's what it looks like they did.
Right. And neither Maddie nor I work for the SEC or have any inside knowledge of that discussion. So this is tinfoil. But yeah, kind of feels like that, because there are other theories, right? Howey is just the primary test. There are like a couple other ones that are lesser known and lesser used. They've been used in like 3 or 4 well-known cases over the years. And
I'll say this, any one of those, which I'm not big, I don't know, I don't have knowledge, but I guarantee those other cases cite Howey. Like,
oh yeah, they're like derivatives. That was
like I'm sure that it's all throughout them. Like,
right, and I think the strategy was to come in with some of those other alternatives to kind of put the best foot forward, if you will. And I've heard speculation from other people who go on podcasts as attorneys and speculate about this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and assume it's safe speculation to say.
Oh, you have the little banner, tinfoil time. Oh, excellent! Yes, I love it.
Oh shit! What was I going into?
There's
a good chance that Gensler, right, specifically pushed these litigations out, knowing that like he could just let them sit for a few years in the federal district courts, and by the time they're resolved, he's not there to bear the brunt of the loss, but he is there at the beginning to get, hey, look, I was tough on crypto, and then it doesn't get the reputational damage at the back end.
I mean, that's something I'm sure I can't deny that. I'm sure that, and because how long do you sit as the head of the SEC? What's the average time that you're there? Probably not
6 years tops.
Yeah, right? I was gonna say I doubt it's 8 years, but yeah, 8 years at absolute max. But
like there's normally the musical chairs of federal regulators where you get moved around before at the end of your term or something, right? So
I had another tinfoil thing to match that, and now I'm drawing a blank.
That's
what I was gonna say. Like, okay, that's all right. That's something I don't understand. This is kind of like a more general kind of point to it. Is I do think maybe not Gary himself, but like I do think there was a like top down not memo or top down message from somebody saying like we need to crack down on crypto. Maybe it was Gary specifically said this is my new agenda. This is what we're doing. But it's something that I really struggle with, and not only that, but also like Elizabeth Warren, whatever, and some other like high up politicians have this kind of campaign going, and I am completely baffled by it. Like this is just an aside. I consider myself liberal for the most part. But I disagree like wholeheartedly with a lot of Democrats on how they do financial stuff like this.
Liberal, but not classic liberal.
Right. Like I can't stand Donald Trump, and I don't want to upset anyone. I hope I'm not upsetting anyone by saying that, but I think he's a monster, and I hate everybody who's MAGA. Anyways, but I don't think
upset anyone.
I know. I do think there is this weird like anti-crypto and talk about tinfoil like conspiracy of like we need to stop people from doing crypto, and it makes no sense to me because crypto is what 1% of the national like GDP. Like it's such a small part of like the actual financial mechanisms that like I have to believe that there's bigger people saying shut it down, like from high up. Like
yeah. I totally agree with that. Well, think about it. The concept of free exchange of value without any tie to government,
right?
Like fiat. It's not the fact that it's printed money that makes it fiat, right? It's the fact that its value comes from a government saying this has value because I say it does.
Right.
And the fiat, what it classically means, government says something, right? This is a decree, and that is a big source of power, right? Because it's like, well, if I want to move, people talk about the classic idea of America, vote with your feet. If I want to move to another country, there's like an exit tax of changing my citizenship. And there are all sorts of ways that they take back this money. It's all about territorial control and sovereignty.
That's not even an option for a lot of people because it's such a process that's expensive. Like you can't move out unless you're at a certain threshold already. Like
even moving to a different state is like prohibitive for most people.
Yeah.
And so that is a big way that, the authorities exert influence, and it's a power of the state. And like to go full Machiavellianism. Yep. It is how the state asserts its interests, like independent of its citizens. Right. And it's in the best interest of all of the citizens for the state to be ruthless in protecting itself because it's the one that protects them from everything outside that is bad. That is like the theory. And the money is right now, and the way society works right now, money is really the thing that gives them that power. It's the root of surveillance because everything goes through the third party banks. They all have agreements, like basically are deputized by the government to share their records, and they get inspected regularly to ensure that they're in compliance and fined regularly for any minor mistake to make sure that they keep everything perfect, right? And it's the disintermediation that is the real threat to government that makes it such a big deal.
Well, I would use stronger words about banks. I mean, I think that is the most PC way of saying it. Like, but the idea is that like you are trapped in their maze because the banks insure that. You know what I mean? Like there's no, like you can't do anything without money.
Right.
I mean, that's just like a reality. That's like weird part of our society. Like, it's not weird. It's just like the nature of it. Like, you can't do anything without money. And like the banks control the money. And like, so therefore, if the government controls the banks, the government controls everything that they do. Which is like
the banks control the ledgers, right? And they can freeze you out of your accounts. They can shut your accounts down, confiscate it through the banks. It's all really easy to do. It's not as easy to confiscate a crypto wallet.
No, exactly. And it's also insane too that like there's this safety net. Safety net might be the wrong word, but like the banks can do whatever they want. Well, and
it might be the right word, but
they fail, they succeed. Like it doesn't matter, and and like that life just goes on because the government needs that, and the government needs like fiat money to like be how our society is run. And so the fact that any kind of threat to upend that, I mean, it's in their nature to defend themselves. And so that's why I think, I don't know. Again, this is very tinfoily. Like, I don't like, do you think, and this is the question that's insane of like, are there like memos going back and forth between like super rich elite people saying like, how do we squash crypto? Like, I don't know if that exists actually.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
But like, because that's like
maybe not
some,
squash. Maybe like deal with is how do we deal with this? Does it require a squashing, or does it require something else?
because like that's like the insane. Like, did you ever watch? Why am I drawing a blank on the name? Fuck, the hacker show. God damn it.
Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
No. It was on TV.
So,
Fuck, I'm drawing a blank.
What hacker show? Spy Kids.
No. What? No. Why would I say that?
I don't know.
What's his name? The Egyptian actor. Fuck. Why am I drawing a blank on this? God damn it. I'm looking it up.
The Blacklist?
No. Hacker show. He's like a hacker and he like eliminates all money.
Chances are good I did not watch it. It
What?
sounds like something I remember.
Mr. Robot. Thank you. Be easy. Mr. Robot.
I don't recall watching it. I think it sounds like something I'd be into though.
You'd be super fucking into it. Are you kidding me? Yeah. They like, it's all about like the secret society that like runs the world, and this guy is a hacker who eliminates all like credit cards. End of sentence.
Okay.
And like
chaos.
and yes, like there's riots and like shit goes wild and the show just like gets insane. But at the beginning it's just about him being a hacker. But yes, thank you. Yeah, Rami Malek. Yes, Rami Malek is the lead actor. He's amazing. It's such a good show. It's 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons. Everybody needs to watch it. Everybody who's into crypto would be like super into it because they talk about crypto and they talk about the like forming what do they call them? Like forming a digital currency that's not actually like a cryptocurrency. You know what I mean? Like like fake. It's like like buy our US dollars.
No, you're right. We do have digital currencies, right?
Right.
The interest, like the advancement of blockchain was not the token. It was the
technology. Yeah.
It was the decentralized ledger that allowed for exchange of those tokens.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, we went on a lot of tangents there. I do want to go back to staking because I think
before we jump into staking,
you have more tinfoil? Give me more tinfoil. Yeah.
This isn't tinfoil, but we're gonna leave it up. I am a constitutional litigator. Like I just drafted a brief about Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights and First Amendment rights last month.
Fun.
So there's one claim in here that really tickles my fancy.
Okay.
I haven't ever personally litigated it though, because it's a new doctrine from the Supreme Court recently, recently 5-6 years. It's the major questions doctrine. And are you familiar with it?
Oh, okay. This came up with in the most recent one, the student loans, right? Wasn't this in student loans?
I do think it was, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I think
I need more explanation. I have like very limited information.
A new limit on agency power that like they can't go so beyond what their original authorizing statute says. And so the argument here is that Congress is in the process of creating comprehensive legislation. Members of Congress have stated that they have not given authority to the SEC to regulate this area. And, the SEC's authority over securities does not include this new technology automatically, right? They would need additional authority to make that decision. And I think actually, I can't speak for the trial court level because I don't know about the personal dispositions of judges in like every district. I only kind of know, the Central District of California, if I'm being straight.
Okay, doxer. Oh,
I've been doxed. No one could dox me harder than the California State Bar, though. I'll tell you that. Yeah. It's, anywho,
and you're listed as is it intern sticks or sticks intern?
It's actually just Sintern.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to convince people.
That's on your BBO, your card.
It's on my firm bio page.
Sin, Esquire. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, but anywho, on appeal, if this ever did make it like the 8 to 10 year road to the Supreme Court, if it ever did make it there, I think they would definitely win with the current makeup of the court. Like this was not what the people in the 1920s were intending to give the Securities and Exchange Commission authority to regulate. because that's how the current court kind of thinks, is like, what did they think back then? And I'm like,
Yeah.
guarantee you people in the 20s were not thinking about decentralized distributed ledgers.
Yeah. Well,
The New Deal is where the SEC came from.
All right, but sorry, can we go back to major question?
Yeah.
What triggers that? What triggers a major question?
An agency's use of authority over something that they haven't been given authority to regulate according to the major questions doctrine.
That is
there are elements that I don't have memorized.
That is wild, because what's the EPA? Like, the limits to that are endless. Like the environment, anything in nature. You know what I mean? Like,
you go to the text of the statute. What does it actually say? What is the scope of those terms?
Okay, I'm sure they have some limitations on it.
Right.
But it's an interesting idea of like, it's a very.
I think it's interesting.
Subjective. I think it's very subjective.
Well, you're totally right. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. And like, this is a totally made up new doctrine. You could argue that this is like a political court maneuver trying to reset some like of the expansion of agency power that the very liberal justices who are pro-federal government allow. Right. So there's these very unique nuances between how judges view things that don't really line up with politics perfectly.
Well, and so this came up with this came up with Biden's student loan forgiveness, because it was like, can the executive branch make a decision about getting rid of student loans? Right. And it fell under one of these questions, or one of these major questions, right?
Right. This isn't something that the Constitution authorizes the president to do, and it's not something that the legislature has delegated to the executive branch. And though there are these other delegations of authority that exist, none of them are sufficiently specific enough to cover this. I think is generally the theory. Yeah. And there are elements for when you can invoke it. They're not mentioned really in this letter. I don't have them memorized. So it's not like there are something you have to prove. I haven't said what they are. Don't rely on me if you're ever trying to write a brief on this issue.
And I 100% agree. I think the SEC should not be regulating cryptocurrency. I think
just like automatically, right? There should be. I could maybe agree that there's some limited set, right? If I just go remake the NASDAQ, well, on crypto, right? If I just issue my shares on a blockchain,
and it was like a 1-to-1, right? It's a 1-to-1 mimic.
No, like literally, there is no paper version, right?
Right.
And that's just how I issued my Class A shares. That would be covered, but that's not what the SEC is basically saying. That's what every single one of these projects is, and that I can't.
That's just not true. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Did you follow the GameStop saga at all?
Yeah. I followed it quite a bit in the moment, and then I've watched a few documentaries since.
Yeah. So by the way, shout out to Keith Gill, the like Roaring Kitty guy. We went to the same. I don't know if I should say that actually. We went to the same undergraduate college. Actually, I just doxed everybody in Bauxite. Anyways, but anyways, that guy, I followed it very closely because I never met that guy. He was 2 years ahead of me. But but
double dogs.
But I bought GameStop like prior to not prior to like early January, before like all the shit went down. So I've been following it like very closely. And at one point there was a rumor that GameStop was going to, because they were afraid of these short sellers selling synthetic, is that the right word?
Yes.
Synthetic stocks, like stocks that didn't exist. They were making them up out of thin air and short selling with them, like saying I have 100 shares when you actually have 0 shares. Anyways, so one of the rumors was that GameStop was going to issue NFTs that coincided with your share. So if you owned 1 share, you would get 1 NFT to coincide with that. And so then when we did a big giant, we all pooled it all together, we would have the corresponding NFTs that matched every single stock. And I think that's what we're talking about. SEC should be involved in that, because it's kind of like that's just like
saying I wrote it on black paper instead of white, so now you can't.
Right.
Now those rules don't apply. To you, right. That's just ridiculous.
And they never ended up doing that, which I really think they should, because I think there is a lot of backdoor weirdness happening with the GameStop shares and how those stocks are potentially being manipulated. Yeah. Like, I don't know for sure, but the
whole short selling industry seems like it's operating in a very gray area.
100%. And like weird, like
share focused on crypto, which, as you said, is like 1% of the market.
It's so, and like, but like dark pools trades happening and like weirdness and like not being
Right, and I
on
like
the
that
up
you
and
bring up
up.
the dark pools example because like their whole mandate is to ensure investor protection through transparency and openness of information, right?
Right.
And yeah, dark
Yeah.
pools. Those are
Anyways, no, I
literally
don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. But I think like stuff like that makes sense for the SEC to be involved in that. Like totally. I
Yeah.
agree. Like when it's really just like, hey, we have this like new technology with the blockchain where we can just sort of guarantee that your rules, SEC, are being enforced. Like we're just helping in the process here, if anything. And I think that makes sense for the SEC to be involved. However, like, you know, and this is, I think, a good segue into staking. And EXC is asking this question here. I think staking it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than it, and it's a little bit different than just the tokens themselves being declared securities, because I think there is a process in it that sort of lends itself towards the Howey elements, in my opinion.
So
And it's not a legal
let's
opinion.
clarify. When you say that, like, are you talking about staking generally, like any staking?
So no, I think the Coinbase one specifically, and
Okay.
anybody who's like an aggregate, which is only really Coinbase. I don't know if
What about
Binance has
Lido?
one. What is it?
Lido? Are you familiar with Lido?
No, is it a similar thing
It's
of like?
well, it's a DeFi staking as it's a liquid staking derivative. So you could stake your Ether, and it's like people run validators, and other people can come contribute ETH to their validators that they're running. The person running the validator gets this portion, and
Okay.
then the person who contributes gets a
But
portion, and then everyone has a liquid token that
they spit out
version,
afterwards. Yeah.
right? That's a version, like it's
Okay.
representative. You can withdraw from their pool using that liquid token.
Yeah. See, I think that's anytime there's someone. All right. So we didn't even really go over the Howey elements, and maybe we kind of should. I know I don't want to be like weird, like I don't want to like just be lecturing, but like it's important to understand what we're talking about here. And you could say it's
can you rattle them off?
3 or 4, and I should have pulled it up before, but basically
It's an investment of money into a common enterprise,
right?
With the expectation of profits derived from the efforts of others.
Now the others one also I have huge questions on, but
well, it's very big, right? And at the time, the court couldn't imagine a system where there was the efforts of others was like the Ethereum Foundation, where you just have people logging onto GitHub and making contributions, and then they jump onto the Friday public calls and they're a member of the foundation, right? Like anyone from anywhere in the world. They're picturing like schemes in the classic meaning of the word, where someone comes with a scheme for a business that they are going to run, and you invest in that person, and they go take your money, and you don't have oversight into what they're doing, and they're maybe in a different city that you live, right? Yeah. That's what these rules were designed to protect.
Well, I think the key thing is that the individual who puts the money in is not involved in whatever is happening. I think that is a key part of it, which I think immediately, before we get into staking, even immediately then, like crypto is out on that, because as an individual, you own it, and it's like your decision what to do with it. Like you're significantly more involved.
As an individual, you own a stock, and it's your decision what to do with it.
Right, but I mean,
like I'm just saying that logic.
No, I know, but like I feel like you, especially with tokens that have utility, and you're doing things with them, like gaming token, Jewel, for example, Jewel, the game we both love. Like you're using that constantly to do things. That's your involvement. I cannot see how it fits the Howey test. When you're using it to do things, you individually.
Right. What I really like about it is that there's utility into the Jewel staking, where like you stake and you get power ups. That I really like.
Right. When there's active things you get from it, and you're involved, and it's
yeah.
But it's staking in general, and I think, and maybe not individual staking, but when third parties are offering staking services, I think that's when it becomes a problem, because at that point, in my mind, you are buying something from Coinbase. And I know that terminology, you could argue with, that's not really what's happening, but you're hypothetically putting money in, you're buying something from Coinbase, and you're relying on Coinbase to then create a profit for you. And so that's where I kind of struggle with the idea.
So how does Coinbase create the profit is what I want to know, though, right? It's not like they're going to impact. It's not like they give you a higher return than the ETH staking. Like, let's just use ETH as like a baseline.
Right.
Say I go and I stake ETH on Coinbase app. They give me like the maximum is going to be the same as Ethereum. They just take out like an administrative fee, as they say.
they are doing all the work. Whatever mechanisms they have in place at Coinbase, you're not doing anything. You're relying on others to produce that profit for you. Now, granted, I understand what you're saying, because the Ethereum system is sort of a well-oiled machine. It's happening no matter what, really. And it's not necessarily, those guys aren't really making the profit. They are just making sure that your coins are involved in that well-oiled machine. But in my mind, like there's a handoff. You know what I mean? You're handing it off to Coinbase, and they're then kicking back a profit to you. And so there is weird distinctions, and it's not a one-to-one. But
I have a couple thoughts immediately. Is that I see exactly I see your argument. I don't think it's poor. I think it's good. I think there's a more appropriate regulation for it, though. It's custodian rules, right? Because at the securities laws, where people are expected to exercise a business judgment with respect to other people's money. Right? If you think about it really at its most basic level, I guess Coinbase isn't offering any business judgment by this. It's just, hey, if you hold your assets here, if you would like to do this with them as well, you may, and we will handle the administrative side. And that's like, it'd be similar to like saying that a agreement with my contractor to redo my kitchen is a security contract because the value of my house is going to go up as a result of the contractor's efforts.
But see, there's another party involved. There's a third party. See, in that situation, in that example, you are dealing directly with them, and your involvement with them, I think you're right. I think you're saying the market or the value of the house is that third party. All right, or the contractor is the third party, and then
they're improving the house.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's a good hypo either.
I don't know. Yeah, that is interesting because in my mind, though, like I think it's a different scenario where it's like it's somebody promoting themselves in a newspaper that says like, "Hey, I know people, and I'll make sure that your house is improved in value. Just let me handle everything." And that person isn't necessarily a contractor, but that's how they're putting themselves out there.
No, but the difference between that and the staking example is that person has to use independent judgment in selecting what people to use, what to do to improve these houses.
Aren't you doing that when you decide Coinbase? You trust Coinbase enough to use their staking program?
No. You're doing that. You're not having someone else do it for you. That's exactly my point.
I see. Okay. I guess. All right. So then,
it's like if I run the servers where the bank holds its treasury bills. Mm-hmm. Right? Am I involved in making their? I mean,
you had to sign your life away to get that job, but
so it's like the fine line between like an interest,
right,
and a service provider. I guess is kind of what we're getting at. But I think we're on the right line. Like it is going to come down to that distinction, at some level.
And I think big picture, I think third parties and maybe third parties even then is the wrong definition. Offering staking as a service is a different category that I'm not as confident on as I am just talking about tokens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's muddier and it's tougher to kind of say definitively Howie or not Howie when we're talking about staking. And I might be wrong, but like I'm just like kind of nervous on that. And I think the SEC really laid into the staking as staking against Coinbase, and they relied on that and then skipped over the like tokens are securities section, like. You know what I mean? And I think that's fair because that's a stronger argument, I think. But I think in general.
Yeah, so I honestly do think this one might come down to like some precedent that defines this difference between here in the middle of the page, managerial but rather administrative IT services. I feel like there's got to be some case that makes this distinction for them to choose those words there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And also too, I mean, again, going back to what we were saying, like we're talking about technology that like, and again, we're using like analogies and stuff like that to define it, but like this still is so outside the realm of what the SEC was supposed to do when it was founded in like 1937 or whatever, or 1920, whatever, when like, you know what I mean? When they gave that initial authorization, like we're so far away from that. Like I would be okay if they came up with a new government wing, the crypto regulation agency, like I think that would be more beneficial right now, because like the SEC is just trying to like make sure they have power by like pushing their weight around here with enforcement, which is such a weird. That's a whole nother conversation of like, why are they doing this through enforcement and not new rules?
Well, yeah,
Like,
that's
so weird
the admin
that they're like
theory.
suing them, and also too like that they approved the IPO and probably got a good look at whatever Coinbase was doing when they approved the IPO and had no problems then.
They absolutely did.
That opens the door back to the tinfoil conversation. But
exactly.
I think this is such a weird way for weird is a strong word, but like it's a very interesting idea that the SEC has chosen to go with enforcement against Coinbase.
Well, I think that's a very
Like,
realpolitik maneuver, right? To do
Yeah.
a rulemaking, you have to do public statements. You have to invite comment in a very, like, regulated manner with deadlines and certain number of days. And like everyone who has a significant financial interest gets a lot of words in through attorneys like us.
No,
and,
totally.
With the enforcement, though, it's behind the scenes, right? Everyone else in the industry doesn't know what you're doing to one player necessarily, and it's kind of like the prisoner's dilemma. You don't put the prisoners in the same room when you're trying to interrogate them, and so by doing the enforcement, they can send these Wells notices that are generally private that companies don't disclose for fear of like shocking their investors or whomever, their customers. And it's just seeing that play out, and like that is a big reason why I'm very disappointed in our current SEC, because that is that's a small form of tyranny. I'm not going to say that's like big T tyranny, but that's someone being tyrannical with the limited power that they're given under.
I'm not denying what you're saying there. That's I'm not going to like deny that, but I would define it differently as someone who sees their power slipping away and being desperate to grab at any straw that they have left. This is what it seems like.
Yeah.
More so than tyranny. I don't want to. That's a strong word.
I think our opinions agree more than disagree.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not denying that.
Dictatorship.
I am hesitant to use the T word there.
Well, yeah, but, my brother recently got me into it. He's a bit more extreme than I am.
Oh boy, yeah.
I have to talk him down sometimes.
Well, and also too, I think going back to and I'm going to keep pushing this. My analogy to collectibles, the SEC, and I don't know this off the top of my head, but I bet they have some rules regarding collectibles in some form. Maybe not, but like that is closer to probably like IRS has stuff about how how that's deemed in your taxes if you sold a collectible, and so
but no, the collectibles are a good point. I've heard a lot of it. I've never looked it up myself.
But it's an interesting idea though. If the SEC doesn't get this, they're going to lose it, and some other branch will be the one who determines how crypto is regulated.
You reminded me of one of my favorite memes here. Let me just get this up. It's from a great memer, Luke E. Walker. I know it's his pinned post, or was. I hope it still is. Yes.
Yes. I mean, but the only thing I would say here is that the federal agencies, and I don't know if everybody knows this, are constantly fighting amongst themselves as to gain more power. Like everybody wants to be the agency that determines everything, basically. I mean,
no, that's not wrong.
They all want to be the guy who makes the rules, and so they all like trying to do that.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
All right.
In conclusion, crypto is not securities.
There we go. Crypto is not securities. That is bad grammar. So
I want that grammar to stay like that too. Yeah.
Exactly. Should NFTs be regarded the same as art? I don't know. If my NFT is a deed to my house, why should it be art? Right? So the question, of course, the answer, of course, is it depends. Wow.
Does that deed have value separate from the house?
Well,
not really.
I don't think a deed having value impacts whether or not it's art.
Right, but like what? So again, it goes back to collectibles. Like a letter written to, like a letter written by Abraham Lincoln to a friend of his has value because we give it value intrinsically, right? And like
Abraham Lincoln has high clout points. That's why.
Like if you want to buy, if you have that, if you own that, and you want to sell it, what are you selling? Are you selling art?
No,
you know what I mean?
I'm literally selling the clout of having Abraham Lincoln stuff.
Right. And so like I feel like a deed to a house, similarly, like
Okay, well, okay. That's
Well, maybe
fair.
not.
Yeah,
That got
the
kind of
house also
convoluted.
may
That got
include
convoluted.
literal,
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
You know,
But I mean, that
subsurface
goes back to
rights.
those like hypotheticals of like, I'll sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. Here, I have it. I own it right
Oh
here. You
God,
know,
I love those hypos. They're
those
so
hypotheticals
good.
are insane. And then also too, like the first to the poll. Those
Mhm.
there's a few states that still have that, right?
It's ridiculous.
Like you sign a deed to a house, and then someone else signs that same deed. First person to get to the like state house wins and owns the house.
The
Like
first one
it's
to get
insane.
notarized.
Like, it's
Yep.
such like it still exists in some states.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Property law blew my mind. I was like, I'm
Property
not
law.
gonna go into family law.
This is
Probably.
gonna sound crazy. Property law was my favorite class, or it was my favorite class. It was like I did well in property law because it was so fucking nonsense.
Right.
Like,
It was by far
like,
the most entertaining class.
yeah, like it was, and you would think it'd be like, oh, buying and selling houses. That
It
seems
is the most
straightforward.
dramatic
It
shit in
is.
human history. Like
We
you
walked
would
out of
never
the
read more
final.
intense family drama.
By the way, this is going to be like lawyers only are going to get this joke, but we walked out of the final for property, and somebody was like, "Man, that test was not what I thought it was," and I was like, "What are you talking about, man? That was convoluted and weird as shit. That was exactly what I thought it was going to be." And then I was like, "Did you guys get rule of perpetuities in question number 1?" And they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was in question. Actually, it was in question 2 and 3 as well." And they were like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, you could put it in any question, really." And like they like all gave me like such blank faces, and I was like, I mean, it was in him. It was in each question. Like,
Yeah. Well, you're good. You're good at issue spotting. Your friends sound like they laugh.
exactly. No, 100%. I did.
Yeah.
I did very well in that class, more so than others.
What do you think about the banner?
What?
A
Blackacre?
conveys Blackacre to B. Did you not have Blackacre in every property textbook?
Oh yeah. Wait,
Oh,
why?
my God.
Did you just put this up there? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I control everything in here. So there is one thing I wanted to talk about that's not
right. Yeah. Let's get back to DFK. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I hope Wowee still in the house because
Yeah.
I took a small part of his night thing here and I
Nice.
rearranged
Okay.
it a little bit.
All right.
So Maddie, we were talking about
Oh my
subclass
God.
builds.
Can I invite Wowie right now?
Yeah, send him
He
the
would
link
love
if he's
this.
around.
I'll
Yeah.
message him. Keep talking though. Keep talking.
So I was talking to Maddie about builds, and I want to share kind of the way I think about builds because it's relatively low thought effort to kind of just get to your goal. So I have a wizard knight, and I was spending some time thinking about what build to make my wizard knight. And the thing about the subclass system is you have 15 points to work with. This means you can have 1 10 and 1 5. And the 10s are ultimates and upgraded 1 through 5s.
Okay.
But even if you pick either one of those sets of 10, you still get a 5 with it. So I like to, I think starting with the 5s, and you have 3 sets of 5s. You have any 2 of 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And then you have 1 and 4 and 5. So here I looked at 5 first. I see that there's this shield smash ability, and I went through previously. The first thing I actually did was identify your 10s and 5s, right? So all of these here that have yes are ones that upgrade at level 10.
The upgrade. Yep.
Yeah. So I really like shield smash. I think that is one of the best things on here for a wizard because the damage is pretty much going to be negligible. It's a knight doing basic damage or a wizard, whatever. It's going to be bad in either case. I'm not really losing much by the fact that it's a wizard.
I 100% agree with you on the small thing is, and I'm pretty sure this is how they'll do it. If the main class is the magic caster, then that basic becomes spell.
Okay, well, if that's true, that's even better.
Which I think will help. Yeah, it will help this scenario. But in general, I think you're right. And like, you know what I mean? Like the basic is not going to be the spellcaster's shining thing. Like, yeah.
I do wish it was a wizard or a knight wizard. Eric's here, but it's a wizard.
Both wizard knight and knight wizard are going to have some wild combos with like the one track of wizard that has like the defensive stuff. I think. Anyways, keep going.
No, you're totally right. Yeah. But so when I was looking at this, I noticed that almost everything uses a bunch of strength and endurance. So the builds that I came up with were mostly just shield smash as a 5 with various 10s. So I have here critically passive, right? So you get the Knight to Remember ultimate. And what that does is give all allies increased critical strike when below X% HP. So if that's high enough, you're basically giving a free passive critical strike bonus to the rest of your team. It doesn't really need to synergize with anything. You just got to pick a 10 and a 5. And I think picking subclass stuff you're going to want to look at what synergizes across your team.
Yeah.
And that's why I also put together this Agi booster build, which is where you use the Commanding Presence ultimate, which is an activate to increase Agi. Although it's based on strength and it's a wizard, right?
Still,
that little boost could be what you need on your Agi hero who's a carry coming in next.
Yep.
And then this is what I really like is my last one, Leave 'em Breathless, where you upgrade Shield Smash to 10, and then you grab Iron Will and For the King. And you don't really need For the King. You can get rid of that, honestly. I think it might be better to go with Honor and Glory.
For the King is just endurance on endurance. Like, it's just another endurance boost, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just it's
or strength and endurance.
It's right there, strength and endurance. But I only wanted it because it gives you this resistance to silence. But I don't think that. I think that might not be worth it. Upon the more I've thought about it, it's just that you don't need that combo. If I'm doing this as a subclass wizard, what I want is the fact that against enemy spellcasters, I now have 2 forms of CC between my upgraded stun and this silence for 13 points. And so I think coming around with what is going to finish out your character's kit, wizard does not have a lot of CC. With this Leave 'em Breathless build, I add a silence and a stun. That way I can interrupt with it if need be and use it as like a clutch unexpected counter against the enemy's caster with Iron Will. So yeah, those are some of the thoughts there. But the main idea is identify your 10s and then go pick a 5 because you're going to have a 5 either way. And at level 30, what you're likely going to be doing is your basic abilities for your main class, 1 ultimate, and then 1 5. Right? You're probably not going to be using any ultimates at level 30 on your subclass unless like you really don't like
specific, like you're doing a thing, you're trying to do a thing, like yeah. I think all right. So a couple questions here. Number one, Wowee says he's in the backstage area and he wants in.
Oh, that's on me.
Number two, I think this is a super cool idea, and also this is just a fun way to be like, this is fun just in general. I just love doing this. Like, this is just fun for your characters that you have and stuff like that.
Exactly. Starting with characters that you have makes it the most fun.
Yeah, exactly. However, I think you're going to need to listen to Wowee because looking at these what skills have the upgrade, I think is a kind of interesting idea in how you value them. Because I think I have been sort of with you and sort of the same way in terms of like looking at if the base skill has like, especially the 5s, those were ones I was looking at. I was like, oh, that's easy, quick +5 to get to the 10+. Like that makes it a skill I would kind of pinpoint for a subclass, like you've done exactly right here. However, Wowee, and he'll explain it in a minute, has kind of changed my mind on this in that potentially the lower level ones might have more value in upgrading.
Okay. I don't think that conflicts with what I am saying at all. I'm saying when I say a 5, I mean any of the possible combinations that reach 5. When I'm talking about a 5. And when I say a 10, I mean any of the possible combinations that reach a 10. So when I'm talking about those abilities, these are 10s to me. When I'm like, if I want to use them, that way I think of them as a 10.
This is where I'm so glad he's here. I'm so glad he's here, Wowee. I need you to help me sort this out because you understand what I'm trying to say.
Let me just if I use this, I have 5 points remaining. So if I upgrade this, I still need to figure out another 5 points to allocate. So thinking about them as 10s instead of as an upgraded 5 is I think cleaner and more simple.
You are 100% correct.
Nailed it.
So
sign off, Wowee. Sign off.
Yeah, right? Okay. Bye, everybody. Yeah, no. So thinking of them as like any of the 10 pluses, like if they can go to 10 plus, that is equivalent value to a 10 ultimate, right? Anything in the 10 plus realm. Now, I was talking to Workhorse about this, and I'm developing. I apologize, Maddie, because I sent him like,
oh my god,
I sent him like so much math and theory, and way too many new terms I've come up with that I was going to be releasing with the Scholar, but they're taking their sweet time.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll go ahead and debut a little bit of it here, right?
Well, special alpha from the Wowee Show with both of their hosts. Wow, I have both of the hosts of the Wowee Show on my show. Go on, Wowee.
All right, so here's the deal with the 10 plus, right? They are essentially a tier 7, right? They are all like, to the 10 pluses and the 10s all have equitable value, which, I mean, in a game design world, right, that means each one of these should have the same output that correlates to their cost, right, which is 10 across the board. Now, the really interesting bit is, we, as in Maddie and I, have been doing the ranking system based off of like, oh, this costs, it's a first tier, and it costs 9 points to bring that all the way up to a 10 plus.
Mhm.
That's too much for just a little bit more stat boost, right?
Right. I've heard that before. Yes.
We
That's
could
mainly
not have
me.
been.
That's me. I do that a lot, and
we
I've been proven
legitimately
wrong.
had it
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah.
Like, it completely backwards. The further the discrepancy between, which I am calling the magnitude cost, however large that magnitude cost is between the 10 plus and the initial cost, the greater the value you're getting out of that choice. So
yes,
if you've got a
I agree
tier
with
1
this.
that turns into a 10 plus, you've effectively turned whatever that level 1 ability is into an ultimate.
Yes, that's what. Okay, I've been like, this is one of the things that's been secret grinding my gears. Is whenever you all say that it's like, whenever you downrate it for being like a high cost to get from like 1 to 10 plus.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
we
like,
couldn't
no,
have been
I
more
feel like
wrong.
that's better. What? You're getting rid of a level 1 ability and making it a sweet ability.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been turned off because it's like, oh, there's literally no change. It's only like higher mods.
Well, I do get that. As like when you're going through it, it's just the same exact words. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to improve it at all. I
But
get that.
that means, like, all right, so for instance, like, let's see if I can pull up something real quick just to give.
Well,
you
I have
something.
your thing open here.
All right, let's see. A level 1. So, the knights are all kind of
Right.
blah.
I mean, what if I go to the thief?
Yeah, there we go. The thief. The thief's definitely got them all. All the first levels are in the 10 plus for sure.
Okay.
So let's see. Do any of them have same? No, they all have something else added to them.
Oh,
But still, like,
What?
these are
you looking
huge.
for one level 1s that have the or tier 1s?
Yeah, all right. So look at Twisted Dagger Plus right there, right? So
Mhm.
the original is deal physical damage to target enemy equal to a Dex and Strength mod off a basic with a Dex % chance to inflict target enemy with a bleed, right? And then the added bonus to that is this has Pierce, and it can, if the target is already inflicted with a bleed, there's a chance to daze, right? With this information, that Pierce has to be ridiculously high.
Right. I would think so.
75.
Like, this
65.
turned
Yeah.
the level 1 ability into an absolute killer ability.
Yeah.
So, but I think while I do want to talk about individual stuff like this, I want to go back to like how this affects your like general subclass strategy now, because originally when I looked at subclass, I was always kind of like shooting down classes that had level 1s and level 2s that upgraded to level 10 pluses, because I was like, that seems expensive, that seems hard to fit into my build as a subclass. But with this new kind of like, if I look at the new ranking and think about it, having a 10 plus in a subclass that's a level 1 might be more valuable, right?
You could essentially say that, especially because, like, say for instance, like, you go for a 5 and a 10 plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You now open up the rest of your board. Like, you
Right.
can have more varied options.
But the punch that these tier 1 now have the 10 plus are going to pack a bigger punch, hypothetically.
Well, they're going to pack a bigger
definitely.
delta punch, right?
Right,
Yes.
right, yeah.
I've
Punch delta.
Delta punch.
I've decided to go with magnitude cost.
Right.
Oh, yes, I like that. Yeah.
So the delta, yes, the bigger the change, right? The bigger the delta, the higher the magnitude of enhancement, right?
Right.
So a 5 going to a 10 plus is nowhere near as significant as a 1 going to a 10 plus. So
Right.
that's actually what we have to take into consideration going forward in the ratings shows is, okay, was like, all right, yeah, it's a 10 plus. It's the same, but like just higher mods. Was that a 5 or was that like a 1 or a 2? Because depending if it is the same, if it's a 1 tier ability, it's going to be nuts. But if it's a 5, it might not be.
Well, and think about it this way: if you pick a 10 plus out of your basic ability set, you cannot pick an ultimate. You have to pick another basic ability or 2. And if you upgrade your 5, then you're getting at most less than 15 point value out of your whole subclass set, right? Because you're getting a 1 and a 4. I mean, you get you can still get 15, but they're getting a bigger difference if you upgrade the lower ones.
So this is exactly what I was talking about, and how and Wowee, I don't think we'll have it, but like the map, like when you showed me, like when you give his magnitude cost is what he's calling it, and what we've been going back and forth telling that is like each one has a kind of value, and like there is an optimal strategy of using that,
especially when you're talking about like what current level the hero is.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so
I think you got to talk around level 30, right? Because they said that's going to be the cap when they release. So I feel like strategizing around 30 makes the most sense.
Even more so. I mean, because I think like 50 is when you'll really be able to wiggle around in terms of like what you want to build out with. So I mean, this is all a hypothetical game that we're playing right now with what build is best. But looking at that magnitude cost really changed my opinion on the 10 pluses and how I assess them and how I give value to them, because I think honestly it hurts anybody who's like a level 5. I'm hesitant at those that have the 10 plus. I'm hesitant on those because I think like the punch or like the value, quote unquote, and it's hard to, I'm framing that poorly, and Wowie's going to do it better with his magnitude cost, but the tier 5s going into the level 10s are not going to have that same significance as the early ones going into the level 10s.
Right. As they would equal out over time, which
right,
is exactly what they're going for, is they do balance out at like level 80.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like if you could, and again, level 30 is what you're talking about, maybe 40 or 50, if you could have 2 10 pluses that were originally tier 1s in your hero, hypothetically, again, we're talking about level 30, level 40 hero. So your main class has a tier 1 that upgrades to a 10 plus, and then your subclass also has a tier 1 that upgrades to a 10 plus. That is going to be insane value, hypothetically, because of this like magnitude cost, as Wowee has called it. Right, Wowee? Like that's, I mean,
100%. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, so I think the example I landed on was having one ability from each tier, right?
Yeah.
And I think like a level 35 is able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, a level 35 can get that high. So the way I did it was, all right, so in case 1, you've got 1 from each one, and you choose your 10 plus in the 5, right? The cost equals the value in this case, right? Because that's basically what they've kind of confirmed, is like it's going to be proportional. The value of what the ability does is proportional to how much it costs in skill points, right? So in case 1, you choose a tier 5 to go to a 10 plus, right? And that's a magnitude differential of 5, right? So you have technically a magnitude value of 30, with all of them added together being a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and 2 10s, right? So that equals 30. But in case 2, instead you use your 10 plus on your tier 1 ability, and now you've got 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 10 plus 10, which equals 34. So technically, at the exact same level, you have a higher magnitude of value than if you had chosen the tier 5 bonus.
So this is the mag factor, is what you're naming this?
Mag factor actually sounds way cooler.
Holy crap, I like that a lot.
Wait, but did you follow that? Because it took me forever to figure that out, and he had to like write it out for me several times until I finally got it. And it's because again,
So I follow it well enough that I think I could go confirm it and then be like, "What did I do wrong?" Once or twice, and that'd be good.
because the whole point is again, math is not my strong suit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I went to
Me
law
either.
school, not math school. You know
I only ever aced one math class, and it was the one where we wrote in paragraphs.
what?
Linear
What math
algebra
class?
advanced.
Oh, dumb joke. I didn't like it.
Aced the final raw 100. It was disgusting.
But the point is, though, in my opinion, or at least for the takeaway I had from this is that I have been kind of giving those high level like 3, 4, and 5 when they have a 10 plus. I was giving them a lot of value because I thought, hey, you'll have tons of skill points left over to do random stuff, and which there is some value to having more options, right? There's value to that. However, like in terms of this mag factor, which I like, I don't know.
It's good for one, I think, and then
magnitude value or magnitude cost is like it's a good way to describe it. But yeah, we need like a slang for it, like the Wowee mag.
Well, the M cost.
The M cost. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's what we call it.
Also, I wanted to. This is also something I wanted to bring up. I want to start naming double 4 sites 2x4s.
Whoa, done.
2x4 site.
The 2x4. My rare sage with an archer sub is a 2x4.
I like it. Honestly,
yeah, 2x4 cool. Sage. I like it.
I like the Starbuck, for the Toxplosion build, as I was calling it. But I gotta call it the Starbuck out of Fealty. Wait, where's?
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about that years ago. Yeah, so
I know. Yeah,
you got to remember, we're pioneers. We got to name all this stuff.
I know.
Yeah,
but I think that blew my mind in terms of thinking about subclasses. In terms of like that. You can see my kitchen.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're good.
But like that is that blew my mind. And Wowee, I think definitely we'll need like math charts for you to like really explain it to everybody.
Math charts, not just any charts.
Take a screenshot real quick of what I had sent you as an explanation.
Right, because that one thing was perfect.
Oh yeah. Let's get that up in the Discord.
So I'll go ahead. And
this is this is an office hours exclusive. Okay,
yeah,
this is not
honestly it is. Like, I was going to debut this for the Scholar, but I'm tired of waiting. I want to get this out there.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, not up in my Discord. Just send it to me if you want me to share it. Or you could put your screen up and I can remove.
Oh God.
You said you were showing something. I don't know. Your preference. I'm at your leisure here.
Yeah, here, I'm going to send it to you real quick. You can, like, open this in, like, a web browser window as well.
Oh, this is perfect. Yes. All right.
Okay, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah, this is it. So, again, key thing here, tier 6s are the level are 10 cost skills, and tier 7 are 10 plus. And they have that same value of 10, right?
Yes. Okay.
That's the key thing to remember. And so if
case 1 is where you're using the tier 5 as your 10 plus, and case 2 is where you're using your tier 1 as the 10 plus.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you're using a level 35, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So like the level 35 in the first option has 5 unallocated points, and in the second one has 1 unallocated point, correct?
Correct.
No. Correct. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that because I was like, there's no way you're sneaking the. So like, okay. Yeah. That was the only remaining like question I had was where are these extra points coming from level wise? But I remember you said 35. So this is all this all makes sense to me and I agree with everything. Yep.
Yeah. There are potentials with mixing it with your subclass abilities and how much of a difference do you think that's going to make versus the magnitude differential, right? So if I, with my subclass, decide, with those 5 extra points, I'm going to go into my subclass. I'm just going to fill out, I'm going to buy a 2 and a 3, right? I could totally do that, and then I'd have a fully fleshed out, right? Or is the ability like that's a higher magnitude cost, but is that worth the difference in one ability getting a +9, where that would be a 5 point.
Right. No, I follow that. I like it a lot. I think, really the only time you're not going to want to do it the way you have in the second one, if you have like given the option between the two, is if you have some synergy with two subclass abilities that makes it where you like want to take the 2 and the 3 or the 1 and the 4.
100%. Yeah.
Right. I
Situational
think
for sure.
this is just pure like value wise. If you're trying to do a super unique character that does like one move or one weird combo where you want the paladin to have access to this weird seer move, like, and it's odd, but it's a weird combo that works. Throw this out the window. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. My Legionnaire is going to taunt and then reposition back to P3.
Right. Then that goes to your question, which we can talk about. But this is just pure value wise on a comparison level of like, how do you value the skills? Right, Wowee? I mean, like, this is
100%.
a good way to judge it.
This is pretty much what you're going into a battle with, right?
Right.
So if you're going against someone who is utilizing 30 magnitude cost versus someone who's using 34 at the same level, that
should matter
34
somehow.
should be more powerful the longer the game goes on.
Also, that's also an interesting note that would kind of like upend your entire theory is if the devs kind of drop the ball on this, right?
Yeah, okay,
100%. Yeah.
I'm hoping, and I think, and only I think this is true because I think Workhorse kind of alluded to this. I think in a message you told me of like that I was misjudging some of the subclass stuff that I was saying, because I would always shit on those tier 1s when it was a 10+. I was always kind of talking crap about them because I thought they didn't have value, because I thought it was too expensive, right? Quote unquote, too expensive to buy them. And then Workhorse kind of said, like, I think that's off based on how this is going to work. And I think you you took that and you sorted it and you made it into this theory. Like,
yeah, he did definitely mention it. And he's just like, I just want to let you guys know, like, 10+ equals a 10.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And so
like,
that
you're taking a level 1 and making it an alt. You're taking a level 3 and you're making it an alt. So like, I mean, when you see these things and you see, especially if you're like looking at my spreadsheet with the ratings, a low level rating that's high that gets a 10+ magnitude.
It's insane.
That just multiplies it.
Yeah. I mean, there aren't any tier 1s that got a Wowee, right? Is that still true?
Not 100. Honestly, I don't think so. I think everyone else is paying more attention than
I like SI. I have Wowie's sheet open as one of my tabs 24/7.
Well, I don't have it 24/7.
I have
I'm just maybe sometimes.
I think there's plenty of triple S's. I don't.
No, it's not even the raw Arcana. I thought maybe there was a chance that one.
Oh my god, that's such a good move. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's nasty.
Oh, Toxic
so
Trap.
got a couple triple S's.
There's a thief one. Does Toxic Trap have a
Oh hell yeah, Thief! All of Thief's 1s and 2s are.
Oh yeah, Toxic Trap plus then. Interesting. Legionnaire has one. Thrust. I don't think Thrust has a 10+ though.
Dude, Pickpocket 10+, game over.
Oh my god,
that's so good. Extra sabotage value.
Yeah. Wowee loves the thief. So
I think sabotage is one of the greatest things. So one thing that the boys on Blogside like to talk about is what are supports supposed to do? One of the functions on supports is to kind of be like a specialist in the game mechanics that are unique to this game. And so an example that I'll bring to mind from Heroes of the Storm is Nazeebo. And he had this crowd control ability that did not daze you, it did not stun you, it did not silence you, it did not give you any status effect whatsoever. What it did was it put a wall of zombies around your character that you had to try to kill if you wanted to move out of. Awesome. But generally they disappeared before you could do that, right? It was just a quick CC, keep you in place, but it couldn't be cleansed, right? Because it wasn't a status effect. It just had you stuck in place.
New enemies entering the board, yeah.
Right. And so it's sabotage is kind of like that. There's a mechanic on the external level, on the fourth wall breaking level, that you can exploit, and I think that's one of the things that's going to come in big on the support role. Quick tangent.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, I completely agree with you. Sabotage is hands down one of the highest value support abilities in the game right now.
No, it's gonna be interesting. I do want to discuss, and this is a bit of a tangent on this because I want to keep talking about subclass, but I want to refute some Bogside smack that was talked.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, no, we're not gonna have time for that. And your argument is untimely, considering my video was like
It's true.
4
It
weeks
was like
ago
weeks
now.
ago.
And you,
No, but
sneak
like,
you sneak in an episode 1 hour before mine just to ruin this line that I had prepared. Let me go pull it up. It was good. It was
Yeah,
good.
do
I
it.
had this
Do it.
line all ready.
yeah,
I was gonna drop it on you, but then you went on this. I learned about your stupid thing. What was it? Oh yeah, yeah. Returning again, despite the fact that Bogside Chats hasn't aired an episode since last month. Oh, ruined my show.
yes, that's my fault. I went on vacation.
I know, Bogcation. I heard.
It was
But anyway,
yeah.
onto the subclasses though. I'll schedule
Well,
it
all right.
for another time though on the the
Sure.
reverse.
I'll
smack.
come on. I'll just start showing up for office hours every week.
That sounds good.
Like I did with Wowee Show. Like,
That's how you became the
Matt is getting
co-host of the
fully
best
booked.
podcast.
sure, yeah.
The
It's just
Bogside
gonna
Chats.
it's just gonna
What?
upset Franz even more.
I just called him the best podcast.
It is the best podcast. No question. He's the best podcaster according to Grady.
Wait, not according to you?
You know.
He is according to me too. Otherwise, I wouldn't pick fights with him. Wouldn't be worth my time.
It's true. You want to go for the king, don't miss. What's the phrase? Whatever.
If you're aiming for the king, you better not miss.
Yeah. Monk. I want to talk about Monk because you did bring that up in some of the notes that you want to
Yeah, I
talk
did.
about. You like Monk subclass, or maybe not like Monk subclass, but you wanted to kind of refute some things that I said, and I want to say this, and I'm going to stand by it. I think Monk is an amazing class. I think it's super cool, and I think as a subclass it could work. I think it loses some value in that the stances, like a big part of how the Monk class works, it's hard to do the stances as a subclass because you just don't have the room to buy that many moves, or buy might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like,
But all of his dances are 10 pluses, and that's kind of what I was setting you up here with.
we were just talking about that, but like but then that's it. That's it. You get the stance, and that's it. That's all you can do.
No, and then
I
I get an additional 5 on top of that with the other stuff.
Right, but I mean, there's like
I could do
10 plus moves for stances. You can't possibly get all of them as a
no. I would get one, and then I would get the matching lower.
right. But I'm
ones
saying
down
there's
the line.
there's value left on the table with that. Like you can't have all. You can't maximize Monk as a
yeah. But there's value left on the table with like almost all of the heroes. And so one thing I think I heard you mention it with like one of them had a combo with meditate. Well, it's like you can't have a combo with 2 ultimates on any subclass, period. And there are plenty out there. And there are lots of things set up where it's like you can get almost max with the subclass, and that's throughout most of them. And I think with the Monk, it's like fairly obvious, right, because of the stances, but it really just highlights the general design. And that was what I was going for with the what I wanted to like counter about what you said.
right.
And the combos with the ultimates part, and it's really good where it's just like you can get right up to the edge of it on most of the things.
And I think I think Monk and Wizard specifically, the two of them, both are guilty of this. Is like they have a really cool design within their class of like this whole nother mechanism. One being the arcane power, and this being stances. I think, which again, like sort of what you're talking about, like you can come up to the edge and utilize it to some degree in the subclass, and honestly, to a great degree, if you like go all in and do the 10 plus with it. However, like it's not going to. I feel like Legionnaire specifically. Any one of the Legionnaire moves works so amazingly as a subclass. Like they don't need to be built on other Legionnaire moves to be good. And I feel like the true beauty of like a wizard is like maximizing that arcane power. And as a subclass, it's going to be really hard. The same with Monk. I think it's not to the same degree as Wizard, but with Monk, I think it's going to be hard. You can't because if you go all in on a stance Monk main class, like that is like it's 2 ultimates and it's like one of the mid-level ones too, and like that it's going to be super cool, but like you can't do that as a subclass.
Hard to argue with you that the Legionnaire is not like the best subclass.
Legionnaire is the best subclass, and I'm not just saying that because
incredible.
I just summoned a Mythic Pally Legionnaire, although I did, and I'm super excited about it. But I think Legionnaire just in general is the best subclass. Any one of the Legionnaire skills in any direction. You know, either the offensive, the defensive, or like the team build one. All of them work as subclasses for whatever the main class is, and it's just like I love it.
Yeah, so the reason I really like the monk, really honestly, is this power stance closed fist ability right here.
Okay.
Is every time you get a crit, you get a chance to push. Having that on a tank is just so fun sounding.
Amazing.
If I'm being totally honest with you.
Yeah.
And then we upgrade it to the 10 plus, and then we pick up. I think it was, what was it that I wanted to pick up with it? That's what I'm having a hard time remembering. Oh, the reposition of P1. That way I can move back, because I feel like I have to move somewhere with this one, so I want a way to get back. And that was the main reason I like this.
The
it's set up
reposition
well.
value is insane.
Yeah. So, and then, okay. So then I also get the closed fist. It was the 2, 3, 4 to 10 is what I went for. And then, so all successful attacks have a chance to push. And then, this one to get back at home after I use this one. And then, oh no, not that.
Well,
one.
I mean,
after the 4,
right? Whatever the combo is,
one.
I see what you're saying. Like, you can move. You'll be able to move around the field. You'll be dancing around the entire time, basically.
Well, it's mostly just this forces a reposition, which is bad for the tank. That's a bad.
Well,
That's
actually, question, and maybe I should AMA this. If it says reposition this hero 1, can you just click on the position you're in?
I would assume not.
Yeah, I would also assume not.
Because I think it would say up to. I think it would say up to 1.
If we're gonna go by like Magic the Gathering rules, like whatever the card says, you have to do.
It's obligatory, or is that the word? Yeah, obligatory.
It's obligatory. It's reposition this hero 1, not up to 1. Yeah,
well,
it's good for countering being pushed.
No,
right.
That I like. I like that too. But just in general, like, right? Because if I wanted to activate this and have it active, I would have to move potentially my tank legionary out of the front line until I have a way to get him back. Which, I mean, the solution to that might be a synergistic team comp where I then have the character who moved forward switch places with him again somehow.
I mean, as long as they have a legionnaire sub, they'll have access to moving.
That's
you know what I mean? Like. Legionnaire has multiple moves that move him. So,
oh yeah. Well, so since I
actually also shout out to Raph. Those guys are they live right now? Are you guys?
They were live. I think we. But didn't you guys go at 7:30?
Should we jump in? I don't know when they were doing it, but should we jump to theirs? Should we call it and jump to theirs?
I mean, I'm down to call it, but I think they're done. If I'm being honest.
Oh shit! Are you?
They were at 7:30.
Maybe they changed it because they knew we were obnoxious.
The stream 17 minutes ago. Yeah, they finished.
All right.
But I mean, I am going to go watch that. And, I do have to call it pretty soon here because of my sweet lady. She is home now from her vacation, which is awesome. Scootum Shove, shout out. Wowee, thank you for coming on once again.
Oh, anytime. I love it here.
And Maddie, thank you for coming on. It's been a long time.
I mean, I'll be on next week and then the week after and the week after. So don't even.
Yeah. So we could just turn the whole DFK streaming circuit into the Maddie circuit. There we go.
Why do you think I started this? Why do you
started
think
I started with the most important, the premier podcast that you are part of, and that is none other than Bogside Chats with Franz and Guy Kid.
Yes,
the best.
We're normal. All right, so I will say we're normally on Tuesdays. This was a fluke thing because we all were traveling that we went on Wednesday, but normally we're on Tuesday nights.
Yes, and I felt rugged in my soul that it wasn't going to happen last night. Just not because like you were coming on today and like potentially competing. I don't really care about that. You guys have good content, but
you kicked me up. Did you say I was trying to be funny? And I
get to close down yours just a couple of minutes before you ended.
I went into this live stream while I was still on the Bogside one, and I said it. I was like, I think I'm on both right now, and Franz immediately booted me.
Nice. He doesn't want you sharing.
No, he wants no part of that. I'm gonna have to clip it. I'll clip it on Twitter of like me on both at the same time.
No, yeah, that'll be funny. That'll be good.
And then Franz immediately kicking me out.
Oh well, wow. Thank you for revealing.
I mean, I would do that.
Alpha.
I know. Yeah, wow. Are we still gonna go Monday? We should still talk about this Monday because there's more to talk about.
No, I feel like
definitely more to talk about.
No matter what, we're gonna have content Monday. No matter what.
Oh, we didn't even talk about. I mean, like. I talked about it on Bogside, but my pop quiz for Hubert, there was some
that was so good
there. And we talked about it on Bogside a little bit, but there's still some like little things that if we like overanalyze every word you said, we can pull more from it.
Which I know I got notes.
Excellent.
No notes required. I just heard the words and immediately formed all possible inferences.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. That's what I
Yeah,
like.
Also, SI, when we get more
It's your turn.
details, when we get more details on SEC versus Coinbase, we should come back and talk about it.
Yeah. Just
That was like super fun. I love talking about
I
that
enjoyed
stuff.
it. I
And, like,
enjoyed it a
also,
lot. We'll see if it gets views.
We'll see if it
You
gets
know.
views, and also like we'll see if I get sued. Maybe.
I mean, I'm more likely to if I'm being totally honest with you. Don't figure out who I am.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, the Franz and Guy Kid are going to sue me for revealing stuff about us. Anyways.
Oh yeah, dude, invasion of personal information. Now we all know that you're from Alaska. And you went to school with
You don't even know. You don't even remember.
Sharon Stone.
Oh, there you go.
I was trying to come up with someone that would be incredible.
Didn't what's her name? Went to Harvard.
Natalie Portman.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Natalie Portman. I went to Harvard. I didn't go to Harvard. Well, maybe I should just tell people I went to Harvard. I don't know.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Thank you, everyone out there, for sticking around, sticking out with us tonight, and thank you, Maddie and Wowee, for joining me as sticks in the mud. And on that note, we're done.
Thank you so much for having me.